Module 12, Lesson 1, Graphing on a Coordinate Plane. Let's start with our essential question for the day. How do you locate and name the points on the coordinate plane? And the first thing in my slideshow said that what you needed to do in your math notes was to choose an option. Either you could print this out like I did from page 333 of your textbook, or you could cut it out of your textbook if you have your textbook at home with you. Or your last option is you could hand write all of this. Now it is a lot of writing, so I would recommend printing it out if you can. It's the cleanest option, and it was easy just for me to tape this into my math notes. Okay, so that was our vocabulary words. Now I'm just going to dive straight in. So this is our coordinate plane. It looks like this. It would be very beneficial if I had graph paper. I actually don't have any graph paper, so I'm just going to try my best with my lined paper today. Something to notate is that we have positive and negative on our coordinate plane. On this side we have positive, positive. That's our positive numbers. And then here we have our negative numbers, and also here. Something to remember as well is that we have two axes. We've got the horizontal axis, which is called the x-axis. So that is this one. And then we have the y-axis. The y-axis is the vertical axis. So I'm going to go ahead and label this one y-axis. So I've got x, and it has a negative and positive side, and y, and it also has a negative and positive side. We also previously discussed quadrants. Let's review. We've got quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. A lot of the time you will see this written in Roman numerals. So I'm going to go ahead and also write them in Roman numerals like this. Just so we have that for reference. Something else to remember, a little trick to remember those quadrants, is that if you make a C, that helps you know which way the quadrants go. 1, 2, 3, and our fourth quadrant. Our last thing to notate on this coordinate plane is our origin. And that is right in the center here. So go ahead and label that origin, and that's always at 0, 0. So it's at 0 on the x-axis and 0 on my y-axis. I'm kind of on my tape there, so it got a little weird. All right, guys, let's dive straight into graphing. So I'm going to go ahead and make my coordinate plane. And I'm going to start labeling my positive and negative side. Here's my positive. Here's my negative. Obviously, this isn't perfect to scale because I don't have graph paper with the little boxes on it. So I'm just trying my best to space it out as best as I can without graph paper. Continuing on to my y-axis. So I just went out to 6 on each side here. Okay, something to notate is that when you're looking at an ordered pair, it always is x, y. So if you're given an ordered pair like 5, -3, the 5 would be your x coordinate and the -3 would be your y coordinate. You always start with the x coordinate. So I would start with my 5. So if I was asked to graph that ordered pair, 5, -3, first I would go out to +5 on my x-axis. And I'm just going to go ahead and label these for reference just in case I need to refer back to that. So I'm going to go out to 5 on my x-axis. Here I am. And then I'm going to go down to -3. So notice I'm keeping my pencil on that 5. And I'm going down to -3 here. And then I'm going to graph where they meet. So I'm kind of just dotting lines here lightly. And where they meet is where I'm going to make my point. Then I'm going to label that 5, -3. That's what the point was, where the point was at. Now, if there is a follow-up question saying which quadrant is this ordered pair in, you would say quadrant number 4. There's quadrant 4. And our ordered pair is in quadrant 4. Let's try another one. You're now given +2, +4. The 2 is my x coordinate because it always comes first, and 4 is my y coordinate. So on my x-axis, which is the horizontal one, I need to find +2 first, which is here, and then +4. So I'm going up 4. And I'm just kind of dotting my lines. And you don't have to make those dots. I'm just doing it for practice so that you get in the habit of where to make that point. Then right where they meet, I'm going to make a thicker, nice point there and label it 2, 4. Now, if you were asked which quadrant is this ordered pair in, you would say quadrant 1. Quadrant 1, 2, 4, and they're both positive. Let's try one more ordered pair to practice our graphing. This time you have -6, -6. So again, your x coordinate comes first, as always. So I'm gonna go down on my x-axis to -6, there it is. And I keep my pencil on it and I look for -6 on my y-axis. There it is. And I'm just dotting to where they might meet. And then where they meet, I make my large point and label -6, -6, and that would be in quadrant 3. So let's take a look at how to graph. Now we're going to take a look at how to identify points on the graph, and you tell me what the ordered pair is. Here we go. So, where are the points located? And this, of course, needs to be in XY form, which is your ordered pair. You'll also need to answer the question, which quadrant is the pair in? All right, I'm going to go ahead and draw out my coordinate plane now. Here's what it looks like. And I'm going to label my X and Y just for reference to help. And I'm going to go out to 5 on each side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to just go back and label those. Always remembering to write your negatives on the negative side. Okay, and now I'm going to make some points here. And I'm going to label them with letters this time. So for example, this is point A. The next point, right here in the center, is point D. The next point is here. That's going to be point B. Out here is point C. All right, so your job is to look at these points and determine what the ordered pairs are. So first, let's take a look at point A. All right, we always do our x-axis first. I'm going to just label x comma y just to remember that we need our two numbers there. So going out on our x-axis, well, I've got nothing in the positive side, so I have to go down to my negative side. It looks like it's just about at -2, yep. And then it goes over to 4. So on my x-axis, my coordinate would be -2. And up on my y-axis, my coordinate is +4. Let's move on to point B. Same thing here. I need my x-coordinate and my y-coordinate. And I'm starting with my x. Well, point B comes down to 1. So I've got -1 here, and then on my y-axis, I'm just dotting it over. I also have -1. So your coordinates for point B are -1, -1. Last, let's try for point C. Oh, sorry, not last. We've got C and D. Point C, it's way over here, so let's go on our x-axis first. It looks like it's right about at 5. Yep. So 5 is going to be my x-coordinate. And then I'm checking my y-coordinate, which is vertical. And that comes right in at -4. My last point is D, and D is very unique. D is at the origin. Now, if you remember from our previous page of notes, the origin is neither positive nor negative, and it's right in the center. The origin's ordered pair is 0, 0. So if you ever see a point at the origin, you know your two coordinates are 0, 0. The last thing that we need to discuss today are scales. And when I was creating these notes, I thought back to what we did in our inequalities chapter, in chapter 11.4. And we had really talked about when you're drawing your number line, you can make a scale for your number line where you can decide if you want to count by ones, if you want to count by 10s, 20s, 25s, depending on how big of numbers you have. And the same situation goes for graphing. So for an example, if we just do a standard graph, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A standard graph, we would say that each grid square, of course it would be better if we had graph paper, each grid square is 1 unit. So here's an example of that. So your scale is 1 unit. Now on the other hand, let's say we had some really large ordered pairs. Like maybe we were given an ordered pair that was 30, 50. We wouldn't count by ones. Instead, we might decide to count by 10. So check it out. If I go 10, 20, 30, 40, 10, 20, 30, 40. See how I'm counting by 10s there? I would say each grid square is 10 units. And that is scales. All right, guys, I hope you have a great rest of the day. And this was 12.1.